Birds win big at home against the Titans 35-10. Devontae Smith strikes first, over 100 yards for him and a touchdown. Next up, A.J. Brown. He says hello to his former team, walks that touchdown number 1 right into the end zone. How about Josh Sweat? 2 sacks for him on the day, 6 team sacks today. The defense showed up against Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. How about Jalen Hurts, He rushed for his 9th rushing touchdown of the season to stamp his way as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and A.J. Brown touchdown number 2 to really tie this thing up. Welcome into the Postgame Show presented by Rico. I'm Gabriella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. Before we get into it, guys, Fran? Victory!
Whoa! Oh my goodness. That was awesome. I like that. I like that. That was nice. Had no idea that was coming. No idea. That was nice.
I was nervous. I didn't know how that was going to go.
We know how to live up to it.
That.
Ike's got it. He's like talking through beforehand. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to go heavy or if I'm going to go in. We're like, yeah, we'll just wait to see how this goes. I don't know.
Like it. Yeah. Nice job.
However, people tune into the Postgame Show to hear you yell victory. So
that's right. Victory! Woo! Yeah, there you go.
I like it. That would feel good. I feel like we can start the show now.
Right, I love it.
I said to Fran, though, we got to hit the woo at the end.
Yes.
The only way to do it Ike's way.
Yes, love it. Love it. Great job, guys. Great job.
Thank you.
So we're good? We can just wrap this up?
Keep going now.
All right, to the game.
Yes.
35-10. Now, this was a big game. Even before the season started, it was the game you had circled on your calendar.
Yeah.
But the way the Eagles played today, it was dominant.
Yeah, and there are going to be some games, Ella, Fran, where, you don't know what your opponent is going to come at you with. But this is one of those games where you can almost write down what the Tennessee Titans were going to do today. This was going to be an 8-in-the-box, smash-mouth type of football game from Tennessee's offensive standpoint. And was our defense going to be up to the challenge? Well, ladies and gentlemen, they were more than up to the challenge. They heard all week about how tough this Tennessee Titans team is and how they were going to come in here and try to play bully ball. Not in our house. Great job by the defense today. Wanted to give them credit. Offensively, my goodness. I mean, through the air today was the formula for success. I'll let Fran, Jalen Hurts, awesome today.
Well, before we keep digging in here, we're actually going to welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who joins us live from Lincoln Financial Field. Dave, in the kickoff show, you and we talked about the threat of Derrick Henry. The Eagles defense held him to 30 yards on the ground today. What was the key?
Yeah, what was his long? Like 5 yards? I mean, the Eagles, they did the job.
6.
Right?
6-yard
gain. So they were able to win the battles up front. I mean, I think we kind of point to the Tennessee offensive line as being an area where the Eagles really thought that they could dominate, and they did. I got to tell you, Ella, I talked to so many people before the game from the Eagles, and they felt really confident that they matched up extremely well with Tennessee and that this could be the kind of game that we would see, and they were right. And if Tennessee doesn't get Derrick Henry going, they just don't have enough weapons. Look, they lost Treylon Burks as well early in the game. That was a big loss for the offense. And then when you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles offense, one that just, even with all the penalties that it had, keeps scoring. Derrick Henry in a cloud of dust is not going to get it done. You've got to be more explosive, and the Eagles just never let that happen. So I thought it was the most dominant performance despite the penalties against a quality team of the season. And this is what we all have talked about through the course of this year, getting into that stretch run and really playing your best football. We saw that from all 3 phases today. How about the Eagles punt return game? How about the Eagles kickoff coverage teams? Christian Ellis making an immediate impact. So it was just one of those days where the Eagles rose up and beat a quality opponent into the ground. After rushing for 363 yards last week, they do it in the air today, 380 from Jalen Hurts.
Dave, I think today we saw a glimpse at the fact that the Eagles can win in a variety of ways. You mentioned it. Last week, it was 363 yards on the ground, but you think Jalen Hurts had over 100 yards on the ground in the first quarter last week. Today, he was throwing it through the air. That was the key to winning today. But how special is that the Eagles have that option? If the advantage is through the air, they can do it that way. If things are working on the ground, they can go that way too.
The only thing that has stopped the Eagles this year offensively has been penalties and giveaways. And while there were some penalties, the Eagles overcame them today. The takeaway or the giveaways, nothing, no problem. Such a versatile offense. How about the tight ends? I think 4 catches, 60 yards with Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra with 1 catch for 19 yards. I mean, like that combination, all right, it wasn't Dallas Goedert, but 4 catches, 60 yards. That's a nice contribution. The coaching staff is doing such a brilliant job of getting everyone in position to make plays. The Tennessee Titans secondary ranked 31st in the league in defending the pass, and the Eagles went after them. You can't cover Devontae and AJ and Quez Watkins and worry about Jalen Hurts running the football. You know, Ike, we talked about it before the game when we were doing the radio hit, comparing the 2022 Eagles at 10-1, the 2017 Eagles at 10-1, and the 2004 Eagles at 10-1. And the way this Eagles team played today, I mean, you got to say that this team is right up there with those two teams for sure.
All right, Dave. Well, I'll let you head into the locker room, get all your instant reactions for the Eagles Insider Podcast, Eagles Update, and all the other platforms where you get all your content out for Eagles fans. Thank you. All right, so we kind of touched on it, all the ways that the Eagles have found ways to win. I think this was the biggest performance in showing off the passing game. And he made such a good point. I feel like the past few weeks we've talked about how do you fill the shoes of Dallas Goedert? Because really you can't. But today I felt like we saw the biggest step forward in their creativity of how to kind of pull the skills of some of the other guys that can kind of replace areas where Dallas really thrives.
Yeah, and it was good to see. And I thought last week would be the week that we seen a little more from the tight ends, but it just took another week. And sometimes it takes these offensive coordinators and play designers a few weeks to figure out how do you incorporate this facet of your game, knowing that Dallas was such a big part of the passing game. And you can't replace him entirely, but you don't want to eliminate the tight end position from your passing offense. Yep. So these young guys, first of all, need to show that they can be trusted in that role and when they get the ball thrown to them. And maybe that took a couple weeks as well. Great job today by Jack Stoll catching the ball. A couple big passes in there for him too. Calcaterra, I think, had a catch as well. So it was good to see that part of the offense being implemented in the game once again.
And not only when they had the football, but also there were times where you saw Tyree Jackson, Grant Calcaterra moved around the formation, and that allows other guys to be able to move into the slot. And so that versatility really showed up at this position. And really quickly, guys, I mean, you guys hit on it. I think at the end of the day, this is a team that coming into this week was described as the toughest, most physical football team in the league in the Tennessee Titans. And call it for what it is. The Eagles dismantled them on both sides of the football. To me, just the most convincing, decisive win on both sides here in this game.
Interesting, too, that every team in the NFC East has to play the Tennessee Titans. So there is a level playing field in that regard that all 4 teams in the NFC East are going to see this Tennessee Titans team, and the Eagles really put up a big fight.
Yep. I guarantee you, even if those other teams get a victory against the Titans, it won't be this convincing. This is a team who just don't lose games in this manner. You know, Mike Vrabel is a very good coach. He usually has his guys ready to go. I just think they were just outmanned, outgunned today by a much better football team that heard all the noise all week about how this team was going to come in here and basically be more physical than them. And in so many words, that's implying to your players or to these players, Eagles players, that they aren't tough enough. And they're going to take that personal. And that's exactly what you saw today. A.J. Brown, we haven't even touched on his day going up against his former team. But I really believe as great as the offense was today, the defense as well deserves to get top billing. This was a dominant performance. When you forced Tennessee to throw the football, this Eagles defensive line got after Tannehill all day.
11 rushes for 30 yards for Derrick Henry in this football game. And Ella, what did we say in the kickoff show? Was if you stop Derrick Henry on early downs, you then earn the right to rush the passer. Third down in this game, the Eagles had 5 sacks of Ryan Tannehill. 5 sacks on third down. They were 2 of 14 on third down throughout the entire game. Just an outstanding performance from this Eagles defense. And really, you can't say enough about everybody up front and on the back end.
All right, Eagles fans, be sure to head to the Facebook comments for the Ask Ike segment. You can put all your comments right there on Facebook, and Ike will get them answered right here on the show. You mentioned A.J. Brown. We got to get to it. He and Devontae Smith had over 100 yards apiece. The last time an Eagles duo had over 100 receiving yards was Zach Ertz and Nelson Aguilar in December of 2018. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But Fran and I on the kickoff show earlier today, we were talking about the addition of A.J. Brown and what that meant for DeVonta Smith. And we were talking about how it didn't change anything for him in terms of his game. He's still been performing as DeVonta Smith does. Yeah. But there's one football, there's 11 players on the field, and he comes in when it matters. He's used for very particular situations. And tonight we saw both of them really have a day.
And you got to give DeVonta opportunities. That's all it really is. Right. The one thing I love about DeVonta is that usually when he gets his opportunities, he makes the most of them. And you knew early in this game, Tennessee was going to be showing some extra attention to A.J. Brown over there. And you thought that DeVonta would have an opportunity to make a play or two early in this game. And you see Jalen didn't hesitate going to DeVonta to get the football to him. So when you have both guys clicking, it's just difficult for a defense. And sometimes his lack of touches or numbers can be a little misleading because this isn't an offense that every week they're going to come out and throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game. If a defense like the Green Bay Packers or who you're facing and they don't stop the run very well guess what? We're going to run the ball until you stop the run. So depending on what type of defense you're facing, that's going to dictate whether or not we're going to be a pass-heavy team or a run-heavy team. Today, the formula called for us to throw the ball. Tennessee's not very good in pass coverage, and so Jalen Hurts was looking like the MVP that he is out there today, and both of his guys. It was great to see both of his guys start to eat today.
And that's the thing, Ella, you said earlier today on the kickoff show that the Eagles kind of put teams on notice with the way that they played offensively last week against Green Bay, 360 yards rushing. Well, Jalen Hurts a week later to throw for over 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, have another one on the ground, 2 100-yard receivers. You're missing Dallas Goedert on this team. You have all the penalties that this team had. And we'll talk about the penalties. Certainly that needs to get cleaned up. There's no arguing that. But when you look at the first half of this game, the Eagles dismantled this Tennessee defense. They did work over 9 yards per play, 9.3 yards per play from this offense in the first half of this game. For context, the Kansas City Chiefs lead the NFL this season with 6.3 yards per play. Wow. So over 3 yards a difference there, just to show exactly what this team was doing both through the air and on the ground against the Titans. Jalen Hurts, he was outstanding here in this football game. I think we'll be talking about him plenty here in the rest of the show.
It's interesting too because all of their scoring drives, except for that long extended drive at the end, weren't more than 7 plays and never surpassed 4 minutes. Yep. So they were getting it done really quickly because Jalen Hurts was just finding ways to get it down the field. Yeah. They weren't kind of chipping away on the ground. They were just throwing it right through the air.
I think for the first 3 quarters, they only had 5 third down attempts. They were just moving the ball at will. They never even got to third down.
Chunk plays. The chunk plays were back this week. And that's, again, as a defensive player, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can you force this offense into an area of uncomfortability, right? They make them uncomfortable. It's not there. It's just not there. I don't care if it's 3rd and long. Fran mentioned the penalties, and they certainly need to clean that up. But I don't think those penalties hurt them in the first half. Yep. When they got to 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 15, they had no problems picking up the first downs. And you obviously don't want to live that way. But today, it just seemed like everything in the passing game was working.
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, we talk about it till we're blue in the face, is that whatever a defense is going to throw at this offense, they have an answer for it. You want to stop A.J. Brown? You want to double cover him on the outside in the opening drive of the game? All right, cool. We're going to go to DeVonta deep post for a touchdown. All right, you want to stop the run? All right, we've got the ability to beat you over the top. You want to stop the screen game? We've got the intermediate passing game. You want to stop the intermediate passing game? We're going to come back with our RPOs. All the different answers that this team has offensively. It's a huge credit, obviously, to the roster and the way that this team is built and the skill sets of all these players, but also to the coaching staff and the way that they constantly have answers for what defenses are throwing at them.
You have to remember, too, they're coached by a defensive-minded head coach. There's not many of them left in the league, but Mike Vrabel is a defensive-minded head coach. And it was kind of hard to see the defense show up today. Of course, the Eagles offense was giving them a lot of problems, but, I mean, they were just worn down.
Yeah.
They just didn't have an answer. And then you can throw in Jalen with the threat of running when you saw what he did last week, 157 rushing yards. That goes in your head.
Ike, I got to cut you off. We have linebacker TJ Edwards at the podium.
There's a lot of talk, obviously, about Derrick Henry. 30 yards today. And what did you guys do to keep him in check?
I think it all just honestly came down to winning our one-on-one matchups today. I think obviously, they had a good idea what we were going to do. We had a good idea what they were going to do. And it was all about winning your one-on-ones, winning your area, defeating blocks. And, Honestly, I thought our D-line just ruined that game. I thought they were dominant, all across the board, and they're stopping the run, and then drop back pass game, they were getting to the quarterback as well. So I thought the front had a really good game.
A lot of people talk about Tennessee as being very tough and very physical as a team. Did you guys have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder? Does you feel that way about yourself?
I mean, yeah. I think they run the ball and they run it against a lot of people, and I think we definitely came in with a little intent to stop that this week. We think we're pretty physical as well. So again, it was all about winning our one-on-ones, and man, up front it was nasty in there, and you could just feel the presence of our D-line getting after them, and safeties filling in the box when they had to, and it was a really good game.
It seems like Travis is less effective when you hit him early. Was that a key for you guys as well? Is that something you wanted to do, is not let him get going downhill?
Yeah. I mean, he's a great back, obviously, with what he's been doing. You said Derrick? You talking about Henry? Who'd you say? Okay, you're good. Yeah, Henry. I mean, once he gets ahead of steam, he's tough to stop. So we knew we had to, kind of close those running gaps and make them find him. And again, I thought, our D-line was just getting off the ball, shedding O-line and just making plays, making it tough for him to see where the gaps were. And I think that's why we had success for sure.
What about this defensive line? I mean, obviously a lot of depth, but what makes them so good, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just like the rest of our team, I think they know their role, and they know that they are, have to be the best at it, just like the rest of us, and they do it really well. A lot of veterans in there, a lot of guys who played a lot of good football, and they know what it looks like, and it helps our young guys a lot, and our young guys are, just feeding off of them, seeing what they do, and using it to their game, and yeah, it's a nasty rotation right now, so definitely need that going forward, no doubt.
You guys had six, 7 sacks today of Tannehill. But a lot of them were, kind of coverage sacks, 3, 4, 5 second sacks. How well did your defensive secondary play today?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of always our thing is getting them in backed up situations where they have to pass, and covering up those easy checkdowns and things that taking them off his first reads early. That's what we wanted to do, and I thought our back end did such a good job communication wise. We were all on the same page, and making that quarterback kind of find the holes, and by that time our D line's getting there. So I thought all around, from the back end to the front to the backers, getting everyone connected and on the same page. I thought it was a great game.
You play in the middle with Reed. I mean, this is his first full game.
Yeah.
How did that communication go? How did that execution go?
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart dude, and I think having Marcus back there helps him a lot as well. A guy who leads that group, and I think we're on the same page. The entire game, and just a confident player. He's out there having fun playing ball. It's football, and it's a fun thing, especially like when things are rolling like this. So, I think you see his confidence building with each snap, each game, and excited for him for sure.
Now that you've played with Linval for a couple weeks now, just having that presence in the middle as an off-ball linebacker, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean he's a force for sure, and he's also a very smart guy. So we're oftentimes talking after drives about what he's getting, so I can kind of help play off him better and things like that. He sees a lot. He's really smart. So having him definitely helps a lot, and he's just an absolute force. And then you rotate guys like JD and in there, it's tough, no doubt.
What can you say about Jalen Hurts? Obviously, last week it's the legs, this week it's his arm.
Yeah.
If you were a defensive guy, how would you try to defend that?
Yeah, I mean, camp was tough, no doubt, going against him every week. But, he's just so dynamic in what he's doing. I think you see his confidence building as well in what he's doing. He's sure about, what's going on. And he's our leader, man. He keeps everyone calm and poised, and he lives that, no doubt. So, I mean, it's awesome to see, awesome to have a guy like that, obviously. And I think the offense in general is playing at a really high level right now.
Christian got his opportunity on special teams, and Jacoby got it a little bit late. Those young guys in your room, how have you seen them develop throughout the year?
Yeah, I think that was it was awesome to see. One, Christian getting elevated for this game, and he just so hungry. He takes film study, he takes practice, walkthrough so serious. he's in there early, meeting with coaches, make sure he's on the right page. And I was just happy that he got to get in there today and make some plays. And obviously you see him flying down on special teams. And, Nakobe's been so steady all year. And, again, a guy who's loves the game of football, quick study, so he understands what's going on. And he's a football player, man, for sure. So I think, those two they had a really, really good game. And it was awesome to see, no doubt. Good deal. Appreciate you guys.
Linebacker TJ Edwards, he has had a great season. I feel like we talk about him week in and week out because he continues to show how much he's improved and really the impact player he's been on this defense. But in the kickoff show, Fran and I were talking about kind of the coaching point for a linebacker in this type of situation when you're playing a running back like Derrick Henry. Well, he never even really made it to the level of TJ Edwards. Of course, he got his arms wrapped around Derrick Henry quite a few times. But from your perspective, what is the approach? Because they did a near-perfect job stopping him.
Well, you got to win up front. Your big guys up front have to do their job trying to reestablish the line of scrimmage. That's first and foremost. And then as a linebacker, you can't be indecisive. Get downhill. He's a big boy. He's not going to make you miss tackles from an elusive standpoint. He can make you miss tackles by breaking tackles, but you got to get to him first. And that's what this defense was able to do today. I think it was like the first or second play of the game, Marcus Epps came flying up there, and that's a safety. And Derrick Henry probably has him outweighed by at least 60 pounds, and it was no hesitation, straight to the football, able to get to Derrick Henry in the backfield. And I think that's what the mentality of this defense was today. And it starts with your linebackers, right? You have to be the guys leading the charge when you're in a game like this. This game was all about who's going to be most physical. And so you can't rely on the guys behind you to make those plays. The linebackers have to be the ones leading the charge. And I thought TJ Edwards and Kazir White, before he got injured, they did a great job. But a lot of that credit has to go to those guys up front because they did a great job against that Titans offensive line.
Yeah, and we said earlier that the play-action game is so prevalent with this Titans passing attack. They love to go run game, play action. Now, when you get to third and long, that play-action element gets removed. But I thought the Eagles' defense did a great job against play-action. There was one play in particular where TJ was involved. It was a play-action screen on first down to Derrick Henry. And those play-action screens can be tough because it's run game, all right, linebacker, attack line of scrimmage. Oh, it's play-action, retreat. And then it's a screen you got to go back up again. So there's three movements there involved with the backer. Well, TJ was left one-on-one with Derrick Henry in the flat. He did an outstanding job of getting him to the ground. He went low right through the thigh and got Derrick Henry down to the ground. Exactly what you need to do in that situation.
Well, as we're speaking about linebackers, Kaiser White, I think, has taken to Twitter. Let's see what he had to say. 11 of them things. It's right. The Birds are 11-1. There's 5 games to go. I mean, even some of the metrics that some of these players are hitting. Jalen Hurts rushed for his 9th touchdown today. He rushed for 10 total all season last year. To see the improvement, not just Jalen Hurts, across the board, on offense, on defense today, big performance from special teams, which was an area that has been hurting the past few weeks. It's just, there's something brewing here, and I know that they are preparing for something much bigger than 11-1, 12-1, and so forth.
Yeah, and listen, it starts at the top when you think about how the roster is constructed. Howie Roseman, great job this offseason. They recognized areas of weakness from this team last year, even though they made the playoffs. They knew that they needed to improve in certain areas, and they went out there and addressed those areas. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a more talented team, a more balanced team. Last year, it was pretty much run dominant after week 6 or 7. They have a nice balance this year. They can run the ball if that's what you want them to do, or they can throw the ball if they need to be able to throw the ball. And defensively, I think the playmakers, just having playmakers on all 3 levels of your defense has allowed Jonathan Gannon at times. I know it frustrates people, but it allows him to play the type of defense he wants to play, where he doesn't have to put the defense at risk of giving up big plays. You don't have to take unnecessary gambles. You can play a defense straight up because you got a great front that you can allow them to do their job while you allow the secondary to lock down the passing game every week. It's just a better overall football team. And Dave mentioned that, he and I were talking about, the 3 teams that get compared to, or the other 2 teams that get compared to this team. The 04 team that I was on and the 2017 Super Bowl champions. And the one thing I kept bringing up about this team is, first of all, I think the 04 team is better than both, but that's just me, I'm biased. But I like this team, surprisingly, slightly better than the 2017 Super Bowl champions. They were a more veteran-laden team. This team has more youth to it, and I think it's a better overall team when I'm looking at the offensive side of the ball. So, and when you talk about the quarterback play, as great as Wentz was in the MVP season that year, I think Jalen is right there with him, or even better when you look at how efficient they run the offense. If you go back and look at some of those numbers from 2017, the most impressive thing is the touchdowns that Wentz was able to throw through 13 games. He didn't have the balance that you see that Jalen has from a running attack and a passing attack.
I was going to say the balance to me is the difference between the 17 regular season and this one, where, again, this team just has so many answers depending on what a defense throws at you. They have a lot of different ways to beat you. And to me, that's what stands out. Watching this offense, watching this defense is all the different ways they can get after you. This is actually the first game this season where the Eagles defense didn't record a turnover. They were one of 2 teams coming in that did record a turnover in every single game. They still had 6 sacks, so feel pretty good about this defense performance. I think 6 3 and outs as well in this game from Jonathan Gannon's unit.
6 team sacks. Fletch was in there. BG was in there. Sweaty was in there twice. Hassan Reddick. I mean, the way that unit works together, I think, is what has been so impressive. And like you said, it's incorporating kind of a veteran presence along with some younger guys who are learning and feeding off of what these older guys are doing.
And I guarantee you, when you start getting sacks in bunches like that, when they get to the sideline, they're talking about meeting at the quarterback. Everybody wants to be a part of the sack party. And so you almost create a little bit of competition amongst each other over there because they had to feel as if everything they were doing was working against this Tennessee Titan offense. So now it becomes who can get to the quarterback first.
And what I love about a lot of those sacks, there were some where it was the party at the quarterback. There was one, Josh Sweat comes inside and Reddick came off the edge. They both got there at the same time. But there were a number of other ones where Ryan Tannehill got off his spot and was sacked down. Those are full team sacks.
Well, let's see what Coach has to say. Nick Sirianni is at the podium.
Jacob came because yesterday in his basketball game, he was 2 for 28 from the field. Scored some points, but we were 2 for 28 from the field. We were chucking, weren't we?
So better than you.
Yes.
You guys were chucking it today. Was this you think your most complete performance of the year?
You know, obviously, we played good at every phase of this game, right? Offense, defense, special teams. Offensively, we had things that we got to clean up, some pre-snap penalties, and so we'll get better from that. There's some ways we can do that and clean that up. So I got to do a better job coaching it, and we'll clean that up. But yeah, it was a pretty complete game for us, and I think that's a really good football team. I got a lot of respect for the players over there. I got a lot of respect for the coaches over there, and I just think that's a good football team.
You guys, you scored 35 points with 11 either pre-snap or holding penalties for 75.
It makes you pissed that you have 11. I think it just makes you mad that you had that many pre-snap penalties because that's always a reflection of me, and I like I said, I got to do a better job coaching that. And but as far as just the performance by Jalen and by the offensive line and protection, and then by Jack Stoll getting going, and then having 2 guys with 100 yards, that was pretty big. And it was pretty sweet for AJ to have that game. I know that was important to him, but what was cool was I didn't feel him press all week. I just felt him going through his normal process, and that's what it takes, right? Because you can't get up for one game and not get up for another game. You got to treat them all the same. And I saw AJ do that and handle that like a pro this week.
The defense helped Derrick Henry to under 30 yards. What did you see from the defensive front against the run particularly?
Yeah, that guy is a phenomenal player. Derrick Henry is a phenomenal player, and so we knew we had to get, we couldn't let him get to that second level free. So the defensive line we're going to have to work, and we got a good array of defensive linemen. Just keep throwing guys in there, and they're fresh, and so they all did a nice job. Obviously, I'll have to watch the tape, but I thought we tackled well. I thought we came after the football well. As far as our strip attempts, I thought we played well up front. I thought when I saw that our secondary players closing the gaps once they got cracked on, so I saw Slay get in there on tackles and James get in there on tackles and Marcus and Reed, and so it was a good overall defensive game, and it has to be against a well-coached team, and a great run team like the Tennessee Titans. I've seen him up close and personal plenty of times, and I've seen him run for a lot of yards. But so it was good to be able to contain him today.
Nick, one of the things that seemed to stick out about Jalen today was that even the throws he made downfield didn't seem particularly risky. It wasn't as if there was much of a chance there'd be an interception or anything like that. What do you attribute that to? Is that him, his judgment? Is that the play calling? What's kind of allowing you guys to kind of marry the?
I mean, I think that's what's been happening all year, right? I mean, he has 3 interceptions on the year, so he's been pretty careful with the ball all year while still being aggressive. That's the art to it, right? Be aggressive and be able to create explosive plays while taking care of the football. That's why only so many people in this world can play the position that he plays, because you want to be aggressive. You know, explosive plays are key to your success on offense, but you also know that turnovers can doom you as well. And so there's an art to that, and he's done a good job of that all year. Today, particularly, a lot of throws were outside. When a lot of the throws are outside, there's usually only one guy that can get it. It's either our guy or their corner. And today, AJ and Devontae went up and get it. The guy on our sideline on the deep ball, that Devontae made a really nice play. But other than that, I think our guys went up there and got after the ball, and that's what we know they can do that. We know AJ has a special ability to catch the ball no matter the circumstances. And he made some catches today that I'm not sure I've seen that many good catches by one guy in a game. And so, it was Jalen gave him a chance, and then they went up and got it.
The Titans are viewed as
Devontae going. I mean, how important is that for you guys? Obviously with AJ on the other side,
but
also for him.
I think Devontae's been going the whole year. I know that there's been things that have been brought to my attention, like, well, are you? Because the questions you guys asked about, well, does Devontae need to get going? Is this and that? Devontae's been going, right? He's been a steady. Besides that first game where he got shut out, we got Devontae. Devontae today.
And then Jay went under.
And Jalen's on under. That's what I'm talking about. Where's the AJ one?
AJ one's at home. Mom said that
You want to talk into
that?
that?
Would be too big.
What, the AJ one's too big?
And she said if I put it over, it would cover the shorts up. I don't know why.
So you just wore Jalen and Devontae today?
Yeah.
All right, baby. I think Devontae's been going the whole year. He's been a steady. He's just very steady. This guy is a phenomenal route runner, and that first third down, the thing he did on that route shows you just what. Go back and look at that. I mean, I'll see. Someone will send me that this week of the zeroed in on that, and someone writing an article about that because it was beautiful. He came across and then came back out, and it was just he's clean out of the break. He's really. You saw the one where he, the yards after catch. He does everything well. And so Devontae's been going the whole year, and he's had some really big games, and so it's good when anytime you get 2 guys that have 100 yards, that's pretty sweet, and that makes you feel good as a coach. It makes them feel good as players that the whole room's contributing. Quez had some nice plays. Zach had a couple nice plays, and Jack Stoll made some really nice plays. I thought everybody that played their role very well today.
It seemed like you guys downplayed AJ facing his former team. But what I saw in the field, he actually had a little more juice. Did you notice that he had a little more against his former team?
Human nature is going to take over there, and he's gonna. You try not to get any more up or down for any game. Now he's had big games like that before. He did. It looked like that Pittsburgh game very similar. It looked like that Detroit game very similar. And I thought he handled his business like a pro. But of course, of course that he got himself up a little bit more for that. Like, as much as we're telling him don't, and just let it happen naturally, human nature is going to take over there. But he did. I felt like he went through his process throughout the week to get himself ready to play. And that's what's important. You got to go through that part, and then you go through that part, and then you get some more emotions in a game. That happens. I mean, look at me on the sideline sometimes. I'm pretty emotional on there too. But again, he played a great game. It was good to see him go out and play the game against his old former team.
So about the way where he didn't show his hands until the last possible moment. We can all see how big and physical and fast he is, and whatever.
Have we started working that yet?
What?
When you go, you run, and put your hands out late.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do that?
We've done that before.
All right, go ahead.
We can see how fast and physical and big and all the obvious stuff with him, but that's kind of one of the subtleties of his game. Like, what are some of the other subtleties that he has in his game?
That is a hard thing. That's always something that I want to be able to coach, and you can't. Like, it's just it's really hard. It's hard to run, boom, and rip it out of there. I think some subtleties of his game are just how quick and explosive he is out of breaks, for the size for how big he is, and then just how powerful he is with the ball. You can see him constantly. He's kind of like a Derrick Henry type when he catches it, right? Because he gets those extra yards, right, when guys have him wrapped up, and he's just going to get some extra yards out of that. And so I think that's a real subtle thing. Like, you know, he might not have the craziest yards after catch numbers. He's got good yards after catch numbers, but he gets these extra yards on some of these throws that guys don't get extra yards on. So I think that's really subtle. I think, you know, last game I said I thought he blocked his butt off last game. He really did. He really worked hard to spring some long runs last game in that big, you know, when we ran for all those yards. And I just think what people don't know about him, he's just a great person, phenomenal person that really cares about his teammates, really cares about you know, this football team, and he's just going to keep getting better. And I'm so happy he's on this football team.
As a player, said to go from the way you guys ran last week to the way you passed today, what does that say about where you are as an offense and what you can do going forward?
Yeah, I think it just says that we'll do whatever we need to do to win the game. And if the pass game gets hot, then the pass game gets hot. We keep going with that. If the run game gets hot, you know, that we'll ride that. And Shane did a great job calling it. Offense coaches did a good job putting the guys in position. And then obviously the most important thing, the guys went out and executed it. And I don't feel like all I felt like was whatever we called was working because of the guys we have out there on the field. And it starts up front. The protection was awesome today against a couple really good rushers and Simmons and Dupree. You know, and so the protection was good all day, and Jalen just found the ball, you know, right place to go with the ball, and we have some good weapons over there to help us make plays.
Nick, with 4 weeks left in the season, and Jalen may not himself want to talk about this, but do you see
I don't want to talk about it either. What are you going to ask me about?
Do you see him as a legitimate MVP candidate among other guys in the league?
Whatever, you know, that's something we have no control over, and shoot, you always want something to be like, you want your players to be acknowledged for the successes that they're having. So, yeah, we want that for guys, but all we can control is how we go out and work this next game, and then the next game after that. So all our focus will now shift. We'll enjoy this one, but all our focus then will shift to the Giants, and he'll go and prepare like he did this week, you know, to get ready to play a really good team in the Giants. So.
Like where he is right now.
I love where he is, but that's the MVP stuff for you guys to decide, right, of where that is. He's just got to do what he's got to do to play good, to give us a chance to win each week, and all that matters is next week. And he's probably going to say the same thing to you.
Nick, what do you think of the special teams today?
Awesome. Thanks for asking that. Thanks for not cutting me off.
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome, and what a bounce back game, right? And so we had those 3 kickoff returns that really sat with us all week, and then it was just a great bounce back game. It was, man, Jacoby came down and lit somebody up. Brenton Covey, we got a lot of good production out of our rookies and our second-year players out of that. Christian Ellis, Brenton Covey, Jacoby, Sean Bradley, Kayvon, like Andre, all those guys came out there and ready. I'm missing a bunch of guys, Kyron, but they went out there and they were hungry to bounce back. And I think, right, we're going to have some ups and downs in the season, and when you have a down, can you pick yourself back up off the ground and rip it? And a tribute to Coach Clay, Coach Panunzio, and Coach Brown, they got those guys ready to play, and then the guys went out there and really played their butts off for Coach Clay, and that was really important. What they did on what our special teams did today. Gave us a spark to be able. I mean, we're starting when you start at the 40-yard line consistently. I mean, obviously that's huge, and so it was just the spark that we really needed, and that's why it felt like just a complete game by our entire team today.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Jalen.
All right, you heard from Coach fielding a lot of questions about Jalen Hurts and where he is in his development. He said, I'll leave the MVP conversations to all of you. I know he's just going to prepare, go back to his process, and get ready for New York, which when you do look ahead, I mean, still 3 NFC East games to go. The Eagles obviously are in full control, but still a ways to go.
Oh, yeah, a lot of football left to be played, and that's why this game was important, because other teams around the league that are chasing you for that number 1 seed is still in play as well. So it was a great job getting getting this W today. Now you got 3 road games coming up. That's another reason why this game was so important to get, because going on the road for 3 straight road games could be difficult for us to navigate through. But you got this one in the bag. You're sitting at 11-1 now. You pretty much control your own destiny. As long as they take care of business, we'll be where we need to be at the end of the year, which should be the number 1 seed.
Yeah, and a big stretch here coming up, not just on the road, but as you can see, we've got a couple of NFC East games in the next 3 weeks. You got 3 and 5. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, yeah, this is what it's about, is going on the road down the stretch here in December and go take care of business and try and get this number 1 seed. Because that's the thing. Cowboys right on your heels this way. It's not the difference between the 1 seed and the 2 seed.
No.
If the Cowboys catch you, it's the 1 seed and the 5 seed. So the Eagles need to keep this up, keep playing the way that they played today, and you won't have to worry about it.
And those are good football teams coming up. I know the Giants and the Commanders ended in a tie today, but the Giants are a good football team. You got to play them twice. You got to go down to Dallas on Christmas Eve to play the Cowboys. And the Bears, Justin Fields, they're putting up a pretty good fight up in the North.
Yeah, you got the Giants still fighting to try to get in the playoffs. So most of those teams have something that they're playing for. And you bring up the Bears, that's a young team that's probably tired of losing football games. Their young quarterback is starting to play well. So at the end of the year is where you're trying to finish off and have good momentum going into the offseason, and always going to Soldier Field in Chicago, especially late in December. Wind swirling, cold out there. That's always a difficult place to play. And the Eagles clearly have a target on their back. They are the best team in football. Everybody has seen it. So when they come to town, everybody wants to measure themselves against the Philadelphia Eagles. You have to be prepared to play your best game, because that team usually is going to put their best foot forward.
And again, because everybody else that the Eagles are playing will have something to play for, that urgency on the other sideline is only going to be greater and greater and greater with every single win that the Eagles stack up.
Can I get
We have A.J. Brown at the podium, Mike. Hold the thought. A.J. Brown.
Now that it's over, does this one mean a little bit more to you, or is it just business as usual?
Nah, this one meant a lot to me. Early on I had mixed emotions about the trade and everything. And, I'd be lying to you to say I didn't circle this game. So.
We talked to Mike Vrabel before the game. How'd that conversation go? What did you guys discuss with those?
Just discussing each other's family. Got a lot of respect for them. We built a relationship the time I was there, and that hasn't changed. So I got a lot of respect for him as a person, even before a coach. So.
Is this the inspiration behind the
touchdown?
I'm sorry.
What was the inspiration behind the touchdown?
Today, I'm gonna have to give you this whooping, but I still love you though. So that's what the hug came in at the end.
Is it tough to make this more than a normal game, or not as much normal? Was it tough to kind of keep emotions in check and not make more of it?
No, it wasn't tough for me. I just removed myself. Like past couple of weeks, I just been removing myself and just kind of like working on myself. And I told you through the week, I was just trying to be consistent. That was my focus. It wasn't about who we playing. Regardless, of course, I wanted to have a good day, but I just kept my emotions down all week and just focused on what I need to focus on. And then today, I ran it out, let it all loose.
Is this the game you envisioned when you came here today?
I'm sorry.
Is this the game you envisioned when you came here? Is it better? Is it?
Nah. It's not the game I envisioned. Even bigger day.
EJ, on the first touchdown that was called back, did you think you were in and everything? And how cool was it for Jalen to come right back to you on the next?
To be honest, I didn't know where I was. And I was just trying to make sure my feet were down as much as I could. I just didn't know where I was. The ball was over the shoulder. It was actually a good ball. And I was just trying to make a play, and the ref said it was a touchdown. So I was like, all right, cool. Sometimes it be like that. You don't know, but just hoping I got my feet down. But I did that time.
And then the second one, was it pretty cool for him to come right back to you there?
Yeah, I think that was huge. I think that just shows like the faith he has in me. Just to come right back to me. I had a regular out, but Jalen, when I was leaving home, he said pump it. So I was like, hey, let's do it.
In the summer, you spoke about how this team has 2 number 1 receivers. For you and Devontae both to go for 100, what does it say about this group?
I think it was a day that we kind of put it together. You know, Devontae has been great. I feel like he's been great all year. You know, the route running, after the catch. You know, it meant a lot today. You know, both of us on the same page, and you know, and we went out and handled business today. So.
Is there any the second touchdown where you had late hands? How are you able to have patience and wait till the last second to?
Because he's not looking at me, and I'm looking at the ball. You know, I think me having a dark visor kind of helps out a lot. You know, I see him and I see the ball, so he doesn't know where the ball is. So, you know, I just try to stay calm as long as possible. To be honest, I really try to clear it out for Smitty. You know, that was kind of for like a cover 2 beater or something like that. If the corner squats, he would throw the goal ball, but he didn't squat, so it looked like I was just running off. And then I looked up and I peeked at the ball and it was in the air, so I was like, I got to try to stay calm. And we were already close, so I was just trying to create some room, even if I had to push him off or do whatever I got to do to make the catch. But so yeah.
In your interactions with Titans people, coaches, players, did anything stand out to you, or did anyone say anything to you that kind of hit you about not being there, being here now?
No, I mean I have a relationship with the guys still there. A lot of guys, to be honest. You know, it's always been love. You know, I think they all know like it's a business at the end of the day, and you got to do what's best for your family, and the team's gonna do what's best for the team. You know, so just the same old. Just continue just building those relationships. You know, I'm grateful for the relationships that I encountered over there. You know, the last lifetime, I got great friends over there. So it was a mutual thing. You know, but we still had to compete at the end of the day, you know. So
when you say that this meant something to you, is it about proving something to maybe people who still kind of look at that trade and look, favorably on the way maybe they thought you handled it?
Yeah, I just think, like I said earlier, like I stated, like I wanted to retire a Titan, you know. And I tried to do everything in my power to remain a Titan, but, you know, it's a business once again, and in that situation, I had to grow up. You know, first of all, I need to stop saying that. You know, it's a business, but of course, you know, like I told him I wanted to retire there, and end up getting traded, and you know, just like, you know, I just had to learn. It was a business, and of course, you know, I wanted to make him regret the decision. So
it's a business, but you made it personal today.
No, to be honest, it's been personal since the trade, to be honest. I've just been trying to keep it down.
How so?
Just because, like I stated, like, that's where I wanted to be. And they just kind of just... I'm not even trying to get into all that, but that's where I wanted to be. And, you know, things didn't work out, you know. And it was just kind of just, all right, here. You know, here you go. You know, we don't want you anymore. You know, you just kind of get pushed to the side. And in that situation for me, and like I said, I had to grow up, you know, quick, you know, so.
Two more. With the way Jalen has passed the ball, run this offense, would you say that he is a legitimate MVP candidate, given the way that he's one game playing with his arms this year, and he led this team to a 12-1 record?
I think he's playing really good ball right now. I'm not going to try to put any pressure on him. He's been doing an amazing job on the ground, throwing the ball. We leave all the MVP stuff for whoever vote for all that, you know. But he's doing a great job leading his team, and you know, he's a great leader, and he's still climbing. He wants the team to be great, you know. And you know, so yeah.
What do you think it says about this offense, AJ, that 1 week you guys can run for 363, and today Jalen goes for 380. Just the ability to toggle back and forth.
I think that just shows like how versatile we are as an offense. Last week was a big on the ground day, and you know, and this week was the opposite. You know, and I think you need to have both. You know, especially when it matters in the playoffs. You know, we know we have to run the ball in the playoffs. And I'm not speaking ahead, but you know, just speaking from being in the playoffs, you have to run the ball in the playoffs, and for us to try to like get ready for the playoffs. And like I said, once again, I'm not speaking ahead, but we're still trying to put it all together for definitely when it counts. So you know, we still taking it one game at a time, but yeah.
AJ, it seemed like you were upset for the one Adams tackle
by your ankles. What's happening there?
He kind of just rolled, kind of twisted my ankle. You know, there's no need for those type of plays. Competing, doing whatever in between the whistle. You know, I'm all for it. If you get me, you got it. You know, but dirty stuff after the play, I'm not going for that. I'm a man first, and you know, we play this game. We playing football. We're not out here I'm not trying to hurt you, so you should not be out here trying to hurt me. You know, it's a mutual respect. It should be. You know, and yeah, I'm not going for that.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I'm sure it's safe to say A.J. Brown is very happy that Titans week is over and he doesn't have to answer these questions anymore. Just happy to move forward here in Philadelphia. Before we keep breaking things down here, I know we have an Ask Ike question. Let's see what we have. How much does the defense miss C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Ike, big loss for the defense.
Well, it's tough to notice today if they missed him or not, because this was a magnificent defensive performance. So I would say one game that CJ's out, they haven't missed him. But I don't want to minimize his importance to the defense and what he's done this year. So you certainly want to get him back as soon as possible. He's on IR, so he's going to miss 4 games. We'll see how they hold up over the next few weeks without him out there. I didn't see that there was a big gap in between him being out there today and not being out there today. I thought Reed Blankenship held his own today.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they're different players, right? CJ's been in the league now for 3-4 years, and Reed just an undrafted rookie. But at the end of the day, you're going to miss a little bit of that playmaking dimension, but at the same time, what did we see last week from Reed Blankenship? He had that interception of Aaron Rodgers in the middle of the field. So at the end of the day, this is a defense that they are going to be the sum of their parts. Everybody's working in tandem to make sure that, as the analogy that Ella used earlier in the kickoff show, all the lights on the Christmas tree are bright and shining. It's not just that one goes out and all the others go dark.
Absolutely. And when you think about the players, the injuries that have been suffered, he's now missing a minimum of at least another 3 games.
Yep.
Avonte Maddox has a chance to return this week. We don't know the status on that just yet. He's missed now 4 when he was placed on IR. So pieces could start to come back, and it's just a matter of that secondary really holding up, kind of following the leadership of Darius Slay and James Bradbury to carry them through.
Yeah, and Fran described it perfectly. This defense is the sum of its parts together, being placed together. So, you know, thankfully there hasn't been any season-ending injuries, and you're going to get and you're going to get most of these guys back before the playoffs start. It was great to see Big Baby Davis out there, Jordan Davis out there playing today, getting a few snaps in there. And so as long as this team can get to the postseason at full strength, that's really what you want. I think they're good enough, and I think there's enough depth that they should be able to hold it together until these guys are able to come back.
Yeah, and today was one of those other games as well when you look at both defenses on either side and say, okay, what would you rather have? Where do you want to divert your resources? What do you want to focus your attention on stopping? Well, the Eagles did an outstanding job of limiting the big play here in this game, getting off the field on 3rd down, and you saw what that performance ultimately led to. You look at the Titans, they did a great job of stopping the run. The Eagles only ran for, 50-some yards in the game. Miles Sanders finished with 30 yards rushing, but they could not stop the big play, and the Eagles got chunk after chunk after chunk after chunk, and the Eagles moved the ball at will and were able to put a bunch of points on the scoreboard. So I think ultimately when you look at this defensive game plan on a weekly basis, there's a reason why they're having the success that they're having.
Yeah. Before we went to AJ, I was bringing up something about the special teams, right? That was a topic of discussion for everybody, rightfully so, last week. So I want to give them credit for answering the bell. They were challenged this week, I'm sure, by their – listen, when you're on a team this good and your unit isn't playing up to par, you feel like you're letting the rest of your teammates down. And so I'm sure there were some heartfelt conversations this week with those guys on the special teams unit, and it was good to see those guys answer that challenge. You know, I heard Sean Bradley's name being called out there, N'Kobe Dean's name being called out there, Christian Ellis starting this thing off right. That first punt, I hadn't seen a tackle made like that on special teams all year this year, and I think that set the tone for what it was going to be like for those coverage units. So I wanted to give them some props for being able to step up and do their part this week and going down there and covering kicks and punts like it means something to them. Great job by the special teams coverage unit.
And not just the coverage either. How about the returns?
Yeah. How about Britton Covey today? You're absolutely right.
You know, there's guys out there blocking for him as well. So I'm interested to go back and just look at the tape and see exactly who was doing a good job on those punt returns as well.
What I love about this team is how hungry they are. Going into this weekend, they were 10-1, and all through the week in the locker room, there was things that made this team angry. Brandon Graham said, "I'm so sick of hearing about about this rushing defense. I saw there was a video floating around on Twitter. He was calling some people out for talking about King Henry and having to bring that up all week in the locker room. Of course, there are questions you have to answer, but they answered when they're just sick of the noise. You know, Brandon Graham said, we're going to prove a point today. We're going to show that we can stop the run. And they did that. The special teams wanted to show that we can perform at a high level. We can hold our own as one of the 3 units on this football team.
And this is where, and I know the outside noise can become loud, but this is what it's like playing in this city. These fans care about every phase of the game, and it's the good and the bad of playing in the city. And I think it's a great thing that fans will hold you accountable. And the fact that I know players aren't on, well, maybe you can't avoid some of the stuff with social media out there, so they do tend to hear some of it. But this fan base is going to hold you accountable, man. They just are. And when they see an area of perceived weakness on the team or an area that may not be playing as well, that's what's going to happen. They're going to talk about it all week. And you know what? This is where they have the impact on the players because they respond to it. They respond to it. It matters in this town to these fans. And again, no matter what your record is, if they see a display out there that they don't think you're putting your best foot forward, they're going to let you hear about it. Believe me, I hear it 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And no matter how much you tell them to calm down and the team is 10-1, it does not matter. And this week, a big focal point for them was the special teams unit coming off of Monday night's game against Green Bay where they gave up those 3 big returns. So I'll say this to the players. Great job of responding, and if that's what you need, like sometimes to keep you motivated in a year where you're playing as great as you are and you need to find little things to have a chip on your shoulder about, it works hand in hand. Don't worry. These fans will continue to put that chip there for you to have on your shoulder, and if it's going to get this reaction or this response out of you with these results, that's not going to change.
Yeah, and remember, that's the origin of the underdog mask back in 2017, right? It's just having those rabbit ears always up and listening at times when necessary for that motivation. But real quick, you mentioned Brandon Graham, another weekly installment of the race for career sack leaders with Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. Fletcher gets his, so I turned to you in the at the desk and said, it's only a matter of time before BG gets it. And of course, lo and behold, BG gets one for later in the game.
Still leading Fletch on the all-time sack leaders in Eagles history. They're just going back and forth at this point. It's a game.
And I love the fact that they are keeping track of it. And he and BG were talking about it last week on the sideline, and then we hear Fletcher mic'd up, so we were able to hear him talk about it. So that lets you know, when you get to the sideline, these guys are like, yeah, I got one. And then Brandon's like, well, you know what? I got to go get one, too. So, hey, it's a good, healthy competition. Those guys are best of friends. And if it's going to lead to more sacks, go ahead and keep fighting with each other over it.
Well, BG spoke to the media at the locker room just a little bit ago to talk about what the Eagles defense did today to stop the run.
We knew if we got them to third down, third and long, we got a shot. And so that was the goal, making sure that we didn't make it third and manageable for them. So I just think that, in order for us to get the pass rush that we want to, we got to make sure we stop the run up front. And I feel like we did that. We accomplished exactly what we planned on doing, and that's a compliment to JG because he went out there, called a good game, and we just had the attitude to make sure we get him on the ground.
Well, breaking news, it doesn't just stop with Derrick Henry here today. They have Saquon Barkley coming down the pike for 2 times, okay? He eclipsed 1,000 yards today against the Commanders, so they're going to have a tough task next week against Saquon Barkley as well.
Different style of runner.
Very
all together,
yes.
yeah. Now, this guy can make you miss in a phone booth at times, and you know he has the speed to go to the house. But when you get a player like this, the team is going to focus on that's what they're not going to allow to beat them. So they know that the Giants offense is ran through Saquon Barkley. But we can't forget about Daniel Jones likes to run the ball a little bit too. So those 2 guys on the ground are the area I would imagine that this defense is going to focus on this week.
I know we're going to hit on it in the Jameson nightcap, but Daniel Jones ran for 71 yards and Saquon ran for 63 in this game against Washington. So, yeah, it's going to be a 2-pronged rushing attack next week against the Giants.
So I'm going to be interested to see what the conversations are in the locker room this week because the focal point this week, of course, was Derrick Henry. If it wasn't people asking A.J. Brown about playing the Titans, It was people asking everybody else about stopping Derrick Henry. So it's going to be interesting to see how the script kind of flips this week.
I would imagine, I'm just thinking about doing a show for 4 or 5 days this week. some of it will be not playing down to the level of competition, right? And the fact that it's an NFC East opponent, and we know how these games go. It's a familiar opponent. It's up in New York. I think we've lost the last 2 times we've gone up to New York, I believe.
I believe so.
I know last year we didn't play very well going up there, so you definitely want to make sure you don't have a repeat of that.
Well, Hassan Reddick, he got to Ryan Tannehill today as well, and he spoke with the media just a little bit ago at the locker room about what they can learn from today's big win.
Man, that's a hard question. That's why I corrected myself on saying the most physical team. It's something that you got to put on tape each and every week. I mean, we have a great record, but to call yourself the best team, you got to do it every week, So it's a couple more games left, a lot of ball to play, and postseason after that, we'll see where we fall. But as of right now, we're playing good ball. We got to keep it going, minimize some other mistakes, keep honing in on the details, and getting better each and every week.
Reddick had a sack today against Ryan Tannehill. Of course, he's listed as a linebacker, but he's performed in such a role that's your unconventional linebacker, if you will. What kind of impact does he bring to this defense? Being a linebacker, other teams can prepare for him in that role, but coming off the edge, he's something special.
Well, and he's like a sneak attack for the defense, right? There's times he's going to drop back in coverage when they line up in those fronts, and then there's times he's going to get after the quarterback. And, he refers to himself as a weapon, and that's kind of how he's used in this defense. He's running line stunts with his guys, and then there's times I saw him today where he lined up out on the number 2 receiver, split out, and he's rerouting guys. So I think when you get a guy like Hassan Reddick who embraces that role, it allows Jonathan Gannon to do multiple things with his defense as opposed to being stuck with one way and saying, okay, we're just going to let him rush the passer. He's embraced the ability of dropping back in coverage. Doesn't do it all the time, but he certainly has that ability.
And what I love, too, about just within the structure of this scheme is that we're starting to see a little bit more variety in terms of the usage with Hassan Reddick. You're going to see him not just lined up out wide, like Ike said, or lined up over the tackle, but remember the sack he had last week against Green Bay where he's lined up inside and he ran a 3-man stunt with Javon Hargrave and Brandon Graham inside. So being able to move Hassan Reddick around, those weapon tendencies, they definitely show up if you're able to put him in position to succeed.
It's interesting to think about the first few weeks of the season. Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni were fielding questions of when is Hassan going to come on? When are we going to see him? Right. And I feel like Jonathan Gannon, with the defense as a whole, has now, at this point in the season, unlocked the skill sets of these guys. Hassan Reddick was a new player. He still had to learn who he had, how he wanted to best deploy him. And I feel like Jonathan Gannon, at this point in week 13, has kind of unlocked everybody's little skill sets, and he knows where to put these guys in the best place to be successful.
Yeah, they had so many new guys on defense, right? And so part of what you're trying to do is figure out from a schematic standpoint what's going to give us the best chance to win. So what I want to go into a game philosophy-wise trying to get done. And now I got to figure out, can I put these players in the right position to run this game? And the earlier portion of the season is really an extended preseason for a lot of these guys. You may work on stuff in practice, but the one thing about real live game action, it's unscripted. You don't know what you're going to get, especially early in the season, because nobody plays their guys in the preseason. So some of these things are really by surprise and by trial and error. And I think what you've seen is that Hassan also has gotten more comfortable in the defense out there. On that defensive line, I know he's half D-line and half linebacker, but they rotate so many guys. Sometimes his responsibilities change based on what the other guys are being brought in to do.
And depending on what the scheme is they're playing up front. If it's going to be a 5-man front, Hassan's job is going to be different than if it's a 4-man front. So just having guys that can be versatile within the structure of the scheme and say, okay, here's the look we have on this play. This is what you guys are asked to do. But if we go no huddle, or if the team changes things up, or if we just have to put a different personnel grouping out there, you might be asked to do something completely different. And the Eagles have so many versatile players in that front seven. Kaiser White, he can line up as a stacked player, 3 yards off the ball, 5 yards off the ball on one play, and then over tackle on the next.
All right, QB1, he's at the podium. Jalen Hurts joins us now.
Have the offense show the kind of versatility week after week, whether it's a run game, pass game, or no matter who the person might be, to have that kind of comfort level as an offense?
Yeah, I just think it's us just trying to go out there and do our jobs individually, as a group. Nothing good ever gets done if every man doesn't do their job and dominate their box, and that's what we strive to do. I come up here and, I give these analogies about steakhouses and all whatever. But that's our reality. You know, we have we work really hard and we prepare really hard, and you know, sometimes it just looks different. You know, and regardless of how we're attacking the defense, we just want to execute in whatever it is we're doing. We want to make the right plays, make the right decisions with the football, and protect the football and put points on the board. And you know, I think early on in the game, you know, we talk about the things that we can control. The self-inflicted wounds, personal foul penalties, the holdings, false starts. Those are things that we can control, and those are things that we have to clean up after reflecting on today. But, you know, we just want to continue to grow. You know, it's the same old message with me. We just want to continue to grow, continue to rise, continue to learn from everything that we do, good and bad, and, you know, grow from it.
AJ said just now that this game meant a lot to him, admitted as much. Did you get a sense of that, and how were you kind of helping to keep him in check?
Yeah, I think the whole world knew what it meant to him, based off of who he is and how he is, how he responds to certain things, and I'm happy he put on the show. You know, he's a special player. He's a good friend, real special player, and I know we make a big deal about it, but hopefully we can move on from it now. You know, he did what he did. On to the next.
Jalen, one of the things you did today, and have done it generally throughout the season, is you've been able to make big plays down the field, throwing the ball, without too much risk of turnover. You've committed a lot of turnovers there. There don't seem to be a whole lot of plays where you're at risk of turning the ball over and throwing the ball. What is that? Is that your decision making? Is that the play calling? Is that the receivers that can make plays on 50-50 balls?
Yeah, I think every play comes down to decision making, because I touch it every play, and you know, you got to be able to, you know, have a plan. You know, and we just try and have a plan when we're out there. We trust everybody to make plays. I'm trusted with my responsibilities and getting us to the right plays, and you know, the O-line's trusted to do their job as well. You know, Miles is trusted to, you know, get going in the run game when needed. Yeah, it's all a thing of trust, you know, and it goes back to the preparation. You know, the practice, the execution fuels emotion, but that comes from the execution of stuff in practice, and that comes from the detail we have in our meetings, the conversations that we have throughout the week. All of it is about the whole entire process of preparation, and we just want to continue to prepare to come out here and be ready on our game days on Sundays.
Jalen, knowing this was a big game for AJ, is that why you went back to him after that first 40-yard touchdown, splits out of bounds? You go back to him the other side of the field. Is that why, or was it just something within the scheme?
It's always within the scheme. You know, he made a play. You know, he made a play on the first one. Kind of didn't get the foot dragged down enough. I don't know, and then came back to him on the next one.
I've heard you guys say that some weeks might be big for AJ, some for Devontae. To get them both over 100, what does it do for this offense?
Yeah, you know, that's the type of players that they are. You know, the big thing here in the bigger picture here is when your opportunity comes, for us to be successful as a team, every man has to be able to step up and take advantage of the opportunity. And we've been fortunate to have guys like AJ and Smitty take advantage of those opportunities when they come. Miles take advantage of those opportunities when they come. Everybody, Jack Stoll and Grant stepping up and making some big-time catches today. Reed on defense. N'Kobe Dean stepping in there towards the end of the game today. Everybody, you know, everybody has a role to play. And, you know, you just have to dominate your box and master your role. And I think I credit Coach Sirianni for driving that message, you know, this week. You know, just do your job. Everybody do your job. Be prepared, you know, and good things to happen.
One of the things Nick mentioned was Devontae on that third down play on your first series where he converted the first down. He said that was like an example of great route running. I was just kind of curious as to what you saw in that play.
Yeah, I mean, he ran a great route. He got open. You know, he's elite.
Are there specific improvements in his game you pick up on after today compared to where you guys were several years back in college?
Devontae?
Yeah.
Man, we all grow from experiences. You know, I think experience is the biggest teacher, and Devontae is one that he's grown from everything. He's grown from, you know, stuff from college. He's grown from the experiences of being a rookie last year, practice, all these things. So I think his game has definitely been taken to another level. And they're all playing at a high level. They're all really good players.
On the second touchdown to AJ, he said that if the corner squatted, he expected the ball to come his way, but the corner did, so he wasn't expecting the ball to come to him. What did you see on that play, and why'd you go to him?
I mean, yeah, gave him opportunity to make a play on the ball. I try to tell them, they don't listen sometimes. I try to tell them that, be ready, the ball could come your way. But he made a play on the ball. That's a big boy catch. That's a grown man's catch.
Take two more. Their defensive line was doing a lot of talking. Is that true? And does anything like that ever get you off of your even keel?
I try not to ever get too high, never get too low. Just stay consistent, stay the same through it all, and focus on doing my job. That really is my goal out there on the field.
There was a lot of talk all week about how tough the Titans were, and Hassan Reddick said kind of took that personally because he talked about how tough they were, not how tough the 11-1 Eagles are. Did you see that, and what does it say about your team? The talk was their toughness. You dominated them in all phases.
Yeah, I can't say that I heard that throughout the week. I've heard it within the building in terms of motivation or whatever, but we control the things that we can. I know I damn sure try and control the things that we can and that I can. And we know who we are as a football team. We know what we want to be and what we desire to be. And it's just, it comes down to what we do and how do we respond to the things that are thrown in our face. You can turn on the tape and see that they're a physical football team, that they attack on defense, that they have, deservedly so, one of the best running backs in the league, and he's physical. But, we focus on controlling the things that we can, and dominating our box and just, doing what we can do. Nothing else really matters but how we respond to stuff, and that's what we try and keep consistent with.
AJ's good friend. You went through the whole process of him being traded, what he has felt this week. What did you feel about it in terms of trying to deliver this win for him?
It wasn't really. It wasn't nothing personal. For me, I knew what it made. I knew how it made him feel. I knew his emotions towards it. But I think being a professional, you have to be able to manage those emotions, regardless of the circumstance. And I think I'm proud of how he handled this week. I'm proud of how he handled it. He has swagger. He has a confidence to himself. He has a unique physical ability to do what he does at a high level. So I'm all for, I tell all of those guys, man, go out there and express yourself. When you get on that field, express yourself. Within the frame of the game, no penalties, none of that extra stuff, but go express yourself. And, he's a big-time player. He's a big-time player, and he's worked to be where he is. Still scratching the surface. And I'm glad having that friendship we have, I can keep it on 100 with him all the time. So I'm gonna tell him the truth, and I expect him to tell me the truth about myself. So that's the relationship we have. I'm happy for him. We'll enjoy it for a little bit and then move on next week.
Okay, thanks, Jalen. Thanks, everyone.
Hurts threw for 380 yards today, 3 touchdowns. So earlier today, Fran broke down his first touchdown pass to DeVonta Smith in this week's Rico Review.
All right, so for this week's Rico Review, I want to look back to the opening drive of this game for the Eagles offense. They hit a touchdown, second week in a row, 5th time in 6 games. They're able to reach the end zone on the opening drive. Outstanding fast start from this Eagles offense. And a touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts to DeVonta Smith. Well-designed play, well executed by everybody involved. And what you're going to see, Miles Sanders running to the flat, and you're going to get a 2-man route combination over the middle of the field with 2 ISO routes from A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. With DeVonta, you're just going to see a post route where he's going to work the corner, try and get the corner's hips flipped, and he's going to work over the top, and you're going to get a backside dig from A.J. Brown. So this is the route concept here from the Eagles offense. Defensively, you're going to get the coverage that the Titans play more than anybody in the NFL. Quarters coverage, which is cover 4. It's a 4-deep zone coverage where you're going to see a lot of moving eyes. It's going to turn into some double coverage in some moments, and you're also going to get a one-on-one matchup on the outside that plays to the Eagles' favor. Now, if we let this roll, you're going to see how the routes start to develop and how Tennessee decides to match these routes, because when A.J. Brown reaches the top of his break, it's essentially a double team. You could see that the tight end, he's taken away in the middle of the field. A.J. Brown, that's essentially one-on-one. Devontae Smith, that's eventually one-on-one. Jalen Hurts finds his man, hits him downfield for a touchdown. Outstanding way for this offense to reach the end zone on the opening drive. Well executed by Jalen Hurts and everybody involved. Eagles reach the end zone and take the early lead.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. All right, 3 players. I'm sure you can kind of guess the first 2. How about A.J. Brown to start? 8 receptions, 119 yards, and those 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts up next, 380 yards through the air, 3 passing touchdowns, 12 rushing yards, and a touchdown on the ground as well. And then Hassan Reddick, we talked about him earlier, 2 total tackles, a sack, 4 quarterback hits. What are we going with, guys?
No Christian Ellis?
No.
Brenton Covey?
You weren't going to vote
Covey?
for it.
I was going special
Yeah,
teams
the word on the street is that you go offense, so.
Come on, man. Jalen Hurts. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. It's almost 75% completion percentage, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus add another one, rushing touchdown. All of that, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, MVP favorites? No, it's one guy that should be the MVP, and that's Jalen Hurts.
For me, I think I'm going to go A.J. Brown. Because I thought about going Jalen here, but 8 catches, 119 yards, a couple of scores there against his former team. Obviously, try to downplay that, but I think ultimately the performance A.J. had against his former squad, you got to give him this Toyota game ball.
All right, Eagles fans, get your votes in. We're going to move on to New York, shall we, for tonight's Jameson Nightcap. We're looking at the New York Giants. The Eagles are going to hit the road and take on the 7-4-1 New York Giants. They sit 3rd in the NFC East. They tied the Commanders today in OT at 20. Daniel Jones, 80% completion rate today. And Saquon Barkley, like I said earlier, he reached that 1,000-yard mark earlier today.
Yeah, like the NFC East opponents, the first time they'll get a chance to face them this year. And, you don't want to have a repeat of what happened last year. That's why I kind of feel confident about this game, because Jalen probably played his worst game last year up there in New York. Maybe the worst game of his career up there in New York, where he had a couple interceptions. I can imagine he hasn't forgotten about that. And so he's going to be locked in this week. I expect another big performance from him and his football team. This football team is rolling right now, and they know that they're going to get everyone's best shot. The great thing I like about this team is they seem to be prepared for everyone else's best shot.
Yeah, one thing they're going to see with this Giants defense is a lot of aggression. They play more man coverage than anybody. They blitz more than anybody in football. And so that will be a big test here for Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense. How are they going to handle the New York Giants when they like to send pressure? Not just 3rd down. 1st down, 2nd down, 4th down, 5th down, 6th down. So they are going to blitz you every single time you line up. So I think ultimately when you look at this game, it's going to be about beating the Giants blitz. That'll be a big topic of discussion here this week.
Here's where the NFC East stands right now. The Cowboys play tonight, Sunday Night Football, against the Colts. They are 8-3, 3-1 in the division. The Eagles have to play Dallas one more time as well.
Yeah.
It's good division. I mean, we talk about the NFC least. Well, that's no more. That's not this year. It's the NFC beast. Arguably the best conference in all of football. They certainly have the most total wins when you look at, best division in all of football, and they probably have the most total wins of any other division in all of football this year.
Yeah, the majority of their losses have come inside the division. So I think the way that they have played, certainly one of the bigger surprises, because they were one of the worst divisions in football a year ago. So one of the big surprises here for this young season.
This 2022 Eagles team headed to MetLife is a completely different team than the one that went up last year. So it's going to be a big week as they prepare to take on the Giants. That'll do it for us here on the Postgame Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will have you covered all week long. Be sure to tune in to PhiladelphiaEagles.com and all our social platforms. But for myself, Fran Duffy, and Ike Reese, have a great night and go Birds.